On the afternoon of March 27, 1977, the quiet skies over the Canary Islands would witness the deadliest aviation disaster in history. Two massive Boeing 747s, giants of the skies, would collide on a fog-covered runway, killing 583 people in a matter of seconds. But this tragedy was not caused by a single mistake. It was the result of a chilling chain of events. An accident born out of bad luck, political unrest, miscommunication, and human error. The story begins the day before the disaster. Oceanic Flight 1736, a chartered Boeing 747, left Los Angeles, packed with passengers, most of them elderly tourists from the United States. They were excited, smiling, their cameras slung around their necks. Their final destination was the city of Las Palmas in the Canary Islands, where they planned to embark on a luxury cruise. The atmosphere on board was cheerful. Flight attendants served drinks, passengers looked out the windows at the ocean far below, and in the cockpit, Captain Edward Grant, First Officer Michael Stone, and Flight Engineer George Hughes guided the jet with practiced ease. But on the ground in the Canary Islands, trouble was brewing. A separatist group called the FPIA had been carrying out violent attacks in their campaign for independence. That very day, two men entered Las Palmas Airport and left behind a bag outside a flower shop. Inside the bag was a timed bomb. Minutes later, a phone call warned the authorities. The threat was real. The airport had to be evacuated. At exactly 1 p.m., the bomb detonated. The blast shook the terminal, collapsing part of the ceiling. Glass shattered, people screamed, and panic spread. Miraculously, there were no mass casualties, but the airport was forced to shut down immediately. Dozens of flights, including Oceanic, a 1736, and another jumbo jet approaching from Amsterdam, Dutch Air Flight 4805, had to be diverted. Their new destination, Tenerife's Los Rodeos Airport, a much smaller regional airfield not designed to handle so many large aircraft at once. When the two jumbo jets landed at Tenerife, the weather was still clear, but the airport itself was overwhelmed. Only one runway, a single narrow taxiway, and a small apron were available. Planes were parked tightly, lined up wingtip to wingtip. The atmosphere was tense. Ground crews rushed from aircraft to aircraft. Passengers disembarked to stretch their legs, while in the cockpits the captains waited for news about Las Palmas reopening. For Captain Jacob Van Dyke, in command of Dutch Air 4805, the wait was frustrating. He was a highly respected pilot, known as one of the most experienced in his airline. But that day, his impatience grew. He ordered a full refueling at Tenerife so they could depart for Amsterdam directly after dropping passengers in Las Palmas. This decision, seemingly minor at the time, blocked the taxiway and prevented Oceanic 1736 from moving. Hours slipped away, and the small airport became more and more crowded. Then came the weather. Tenerife's mountains and its proximity to the ocean made fog appear suddenly, rolling in like a white curtain. One moment visibility was clear, the next it was reduced to only a few hundred meters. Air traffic control struggled to manage the situation. There was no ground radar at Los Rodeos. Controllers could not see the planes through the fog. They relied solely on radio communication, and every word spoken now mattered. By late afternoon, Dutch Air 4805 finally taxied to the end of the runway, preparing for takeoff. Oceanic 1736 followed behind but was instructed to exit the runway via taxiway C3, allowing the Dutch jet to depart first. But in the thick fog, Oceanic's crew missed the exit. Their aircraft was still on the runway, hidden in the mist. Then came the fatal miscommunication. Dutch Air's captain radioed the tower, saying they were at takeoff. Whether he said, "We are at takeoff," or "We are taking off," has never been fully clear. The controller, distracted by giving further instructions, responded with a casual "okay." In that split second, the captain interpreted it as clearance. He pushed the throttles forward. The engines roared, and the massive 747 began accelerating down the runway. In Oceanic 1736's cockpit, Captain Grant and his crew listened to the same radio traffic. Realizing the danger, they urgently transmitted, "We are still on the runway," but their message overlapped with the controller's words. In the Dutch cockpit, all the crew heard was static. The fog swallowed everything. Neither crew could see more than a few hundred meters. Then, through the mist, the lights of the other aircraft appeared. Too late. Captain Grant tried desperately to turn Oceanic 1736 off the runway. Dutch Air's captain pulled back on the yoke, attempting an early takeoff. The massive jet lifted. Slightly, but its engines struck Oceanic's fuselage with a deafening impact. Fire erupted instantly. Dutch Air 4805 crashed back down, exploding in flames. Oceanic 1736's fuselage tore open, engulfed in fire. In seconds, hundreds were dead. Dutch Air lost everyone on board, 248 souls. On Oceanic 1736, most of the first class, passengers were killed instantly, but in the economy section, some managed to escape through holes torn in the fuselage. 61 people survived, running into the fog as explosions echoed behind them. By the time rescue teams reached the site, the runway was a field of wreckage and fire. Black smoke towered into the sky. The world's worst aviation accident had taken place, not in the air, but on the ground. Investigations later revealed the chilling truth. No single mistake caused this tragedy. Instead, it was a chain of events. Political violence, an overcrowded airport, sudden fog, missed taxiways, and, most importantly, miscommunication in the cockpit. The Dutch captain's impatience, the lack of radar, and unclear radio language sealed the fate of 583 people. But the disaster was not in vain. The aviation industry learned harsh lessons. After Tenerife, international rules for radio communication were rewritten. Controllers and pilots adopted precise, unambiguous language. Ground radar became mandatory at major airports. Runway safety procedures were standardized worldwide. Today, Tenerife North Airport still operates, but its role is overshadowed by the new Tenerife South Airport, built with safer geography and fewer weather risks. The Tenerife disaster remains. A reminder, in aviation, even the smallest error, the faintest misheard word, can mean the difference between life and death.